Good afternoon. We're going to start with the next panel discussion now. My name is Betsy Wall. I'm the Executive Director of the Massachusetts Office of Travel and Tourism. That's the state agency that's charged with marketing Massachusetts as a leisure destination. I'll tell you very quickly why state government cares so strongly about tourism in the Commonwealth. Every year, approximately 20 million visitors come to Massachusetts. Of them, about 2 million come from international markets. That makes Massachusetts the 6th largest destination among U.S. states. Those visitors, when they're here, spend about $16 billion in our communities all across the Commonwealth. And the money that they spend supports about 124,000 jobs across the Commonwealth. So the stakes are very high for the tourism industry when there's any change on the horizon, and obviously this is potentially a very large change. The tourism industry brings a tremendous number of assets to the visitor industry, to the life in Massachusetts, and I think they're very interested in knowing that the new gaming, should it come to Massachusetts or when it comes to Massachusetts, will be an asset that enhances existing tourism businesses. So I'd like to introduce the panelists for their perspective. Right to my left is Scott Madden, who's a senior partner at Connolly Partners, which is the Boston-based advertising agency that represents the Mass Office of Travel and Tourism and manages our domestic marketing programs. Next to him is Peter Roskophen, who's well known in this region as a business leader in the hospitality industry and is in fact a leader in the Commonwealth in the tourism industry and is the current chairman of the Convention and Visitors Bureau here. And our guest from Indiana is, you're going to hear from him first. This is Spiro Bettis, I'm going to screw this up. I did fine without the microphone. Spiro Batistatos is the president and CEO of the South Shore Convention and Visitors Authority in Indiana, which is on his area of the state, is along the coast of Lake Michigan. And he has significant experience in that region of the country and also in Atlantic City. So we'll hear from him first about what he has seen and participated in his experience.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Let's try that again. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Much better. It's my pleasure to be here. As introduced, my name is Spiro Batistatos. I'm the president of the South Shore Convention and Visitors Authority. And members of the commission, senators, members of the Massachusetts House, local elected officials, business leaders, and hospitality industry leaders, it is a great pleasure for me to join you today in this process. Having been through gaming, I was one of the people that in 1989 we started the legalization of gaming in Indiana for the express purpose of creating jobs and economic benefits for Gary, Indiana. Gary is my hometown. It's where I reside today. There were 6 of us lobbyists that basically camped out in the State House in Indianapolis for all of 1993. Over a gubernatorial veto and a special session during the summer, the Indiana House and Senate passed House Bill, and this was no luck that it was numbered 1107. So with that, I am really, really pleased to be here and be able to serve the commission and ask or answer any questions they might ask. I was struck by someone's comments earlier about your need to amass expertise. And I did a little research by a gentleman called John Spence, who recently authored Awesomely Simple. And he talks about expertise requiring the 4 Ps: passion, persistence, practice, and pattern recognition. I was especially struck during the portion of his discussion on practice where it says in order to be an expert you need 7 to 10 years or more than 100,000 hours to do any one thing and become expert at it. That struck me that as outstanding as this gaming commission is, you don't have 7 or 10 years. So all of us in this room and all the expertise that we have to share are here so that we can more rapidly get you to that level that you need to make all those critical decisions that the industry and the state and the residents so desperately are waiting for. I think it was actually Mr. Brennan who said, allow us to serve as your experts, and I'm very pleased to be able to do so. I brought a very brief 4-minute video that I wanted to share with you because I've been doing gaming for 21 years. I started in my Convention and Visitors Bureau, which at the time in 1993, when I started was 1989, was the Lake County Convention and Visitors Bureau. We had a budget of $208,000 and a staff of 2. Today, in 2012, we're a $4.5 million agency, full-time staff of 19, and we've done that in large part with our partnership in gaming and by very, very judiciously managing the revenue that it brought us. But beyond that, gaming is just a step on the way of what we want to do as a destination. That's why after some lengthy conversation, I thought if you would indulge me for about 4 minutes, you can get a sense of A, where we're located, what we do, and B, how gaming fits into the greater kind of destination management that we're trying to do as an entity. So if I could have whoever's going to do that cue up the video for me, that'd be great. I'll warn you, the talent in this video is miserable. It's all we could afford.
Hey guys, why don't you take a break? Heavy industry's been carrying this economy for decades. I'm here to tell you the story about a community that's been built by steel and changed by tourism. Our journey begins in 1983 with an economy almost as bad as it is today. A group of business people approached the Indiana General Assembly, and born out of necessity, the need for better economic times, was the Lake County Convention and Visitors Bureau. The thinking, very simple: place a tax on hotels, have it paid for by visitors, and use that money to market the community and secure convention and sporting bids. Even produced a brochure at the time, My How Things Have Changed. So with a $208,000 budget, we went to market. We added hotels, restaurants, attractions, and retail along the way. But we learned very quickly the Convention Bureau needed to do something that no one hotel could do by itself. That was go after bigger pieces of business. So we started in 1986 with a men's state bowling tournament. We followed up very quickly in 1991 by taking a Hoosier pastime, Gus Macker basketball, and turning it into the very first special event that we managed, bringing thousands of people from throughout the Midwest. Our emphasis in creating new facilities has never changed, and we placed a very heavy emphasis on that in the Indiana General Assembly in 1993. Gaming was legalized, and we knew our product was going to improve. Riverboats in Gary, Hammond, and East Chicago created tens of thousands of jobs and hundreds of millions of dollars of investment. This brought us new visitors and helped, again, expand our attraction base. But we needed a home. How do we tell people about our multi-ethnicity, the deep industrial background? Who are we as people? So we built the Indiana Welcome Center, which is on the Borman and Kennedy Avenue. We tell the story of who we are and what we do. And more importantly, we give a very visible regional headquarters to our industry. Our growth continues. Today, we're an $848 million industry, sustaining more than 45,000 jobs. We have great attractions, great meeting space, and we're one of the fastest growing destinations in the Midwest, as well as one of the most technologically advanced convention bureaus. But we needed to change our name. Why be a county name? People recognize the South Shore and the iconic brand that it brings with it. Large businesses and small businesses have all invested in making the South Shore brand widely recognized. It's embraced from throughout the region and brings us economic benefit everywhere. We also do something our competition don't. We continue to make our investment in amateur sports pay off. In 2007, we brought in the largest piece of business ever, the National Softball Association's World Series. 10,000 athletes, coaches, and families came from all over the country and descended on Northwest Indiana. We also took over the air show and kept a great free event, one of the largest in the Midwest. But the real sell begins right here at our hotels. We work relentlessly to bring people in from all over the Midwest, and when we do, our staff makes them feel welcome, tells them the stories they need to know, where they can go spend money, have great ethnic food, do all the things that make our region excellent. We've showed you our innovation today, be it through partnership, sports, or technology. We listen to our customers because they tell us they don't see county lines, and neither do we. If we were to add a convention center to the mix, I can guarantee you we're going to have a billion-dollar industry. As we continue to penetrate Chicago and Indianapolis, our biggest markets, we're confident that profits are going to grow and more jobs will be created. And we're incredibly proud of our people, our heritage, and our industries. While we've been built by steel, and guys, thanks for everything you do, we're going to continue to grow our product by diversifying the economy. And we're confident that we're going to be a great place to work, live, and play all along the South Shore.
How many takes did that take?
Mr. Chairman, that was 9 takes. And we lost the sunlight, so we actually had to flip it around and go at it backwards. It's a much longer story, but I'll tell you about it another time. That is our branding position, built by steel, changed by tourism. Travel does matter. There are some quick statistics. You can see that video is a little bit old. We're the second largest industry in our corner of the state. We talk about the tax savings that we generate per household from having the hospitality industry there. Something that we found resonates with people, because if you didn't have hotels, restaurants, banquet facilities, casinos, all of those things, our property taxes, in order to sustain the level of service we have, would be $1,000 higher for every household that we had. We are now a $1.62 billion industry. Visitors spend about 1.37. That number should be billion, not million. And combined with Porter and LaPorte, my 2 next door neighbors, we have a visitors industry as large as Indianapolis. So I wanted to kind of put it in perspective for you, what our product looks like, who we are, where we're located on just outside of Chicago. There's the map. You can see the competitive set for gaming in the greater Chicago market. The 4 licenses that are in my service territory are A, B, C, and D. You can see them right there on the southern tip of Lake Michigan. That's Horseshoe, Ameristar, the Majestic 1 and 2 is C, and then Boyd Gaming's Blue Chip Casino in Michigan City. Just to the far right of your screen, you see an Indian gaming reservation in Michigan that the day they opened took 30% from Blue Chip first day. And they stayed in that hole for a very, very long time. You can see the suburban markets, Joliet, and some of the other ones that opened up. The only one that's inaccurate, and it's funny what casino mania does to a community, is the letter H is a nightclub in Chicago called Casino Nights. We couldn't get it off of Google Maps, so there is no casino in downtown Chicago yet. But that gives you a sense of what we have in our community and the size of that. To give you a greater sense of the level of play, there you can see the number of tables and slots that we have for the 4. Again, there are 10 licenses in Indiana. 4 of them are in our service territory. From January 1st to June 30th, those 4 casinos had a take of $571 million. The 2011 gross for the state of Indiana was $2.774 billion, with 42% of that coming out of the northwest Indiana corner of our state near Chicago. So gaming obviously is a very, very important part of what we do, and the taxes that we pay to the state of Indiana and to the cities and towns that do this. So a couple of things I want to point out to the people that are in this room. The Indiana Gaming Commission process didn't look anything like this. My congratulations to you. I truly think you've got it right. We did not have an opportunity as a convention bureau or a hospitality industry or an average resident to go through this kind of comprehensive regional look at what's going to happen. The Gaming Commission was formed. It rapidly moved ahead. It allowed the cities to cut deals with their preferred operator, and that really took a lot of this kind of process and left us now, I'm a 20-year veteran of gaming, left me with a product that if I could go back to the beginning and have this be the room, I guarantee you the product we have today would look a lot different than what we're stuck with. And one of the things that we made a mistake on, and I want to touch on and I'll let you ask later, is we failed to cluster our licenses. We got into an individual thinking mentality of, well, Gary's got to have its licenses in Gary, East Chicago's got to have its license in East Chicago, Hammond, Michigan City, and you can see, if we go back to, had we clustered all 4 of those licenses in our corner and created one mega complex, and that's, again, that's not the Massachusetts model, but I'm talking about what we could have done better, we would have had a destination. We would have had 4 huge casinos, 2 or 3 hotels, an entertainment district, something that on its own life outside of the casino would have legs. We didn't do that. So we have these 4 islands of entertainment that are complete and separate from anything else that's going on in the community. So that's one thing that we didn't do very well. And we had to ask ourselves, what are we going to do with the gaming dollars? We get a large portion of money directly to the Convention and Visitors Bureau. We knew that if we didn't do something meaningful and very impactful, that we would be a target for those guys don't need all that money. So our strategic plan is based on building what you see there. It's widely recognized in the industry. It was a $10 million project. It is 26,000 square foot. The architectural language from the far right of your screen, the stainless steel waves of Lake Michigan crashing into the sand dunes, which is the middle dune wall. Out of that coming the smokestacks of industry, and then the south on the left, the muddy waters of the Kankakee and agriculture. We give a visual symbol to who we are as a community and what we stand for, and that put us in debt, and that allowed us to use the money wisely to create a game changer, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. What is your plan for capital investment and game changers? The casino on its own is going to bring you a lot of visitors. It is not going to change your hospitality industry per se. And I want to say that again. The small business people in this room, to the entrepreneurs, if you think, and I had the great fortune last night of having a wonderful dinner at Theodore's, and I went to Student Prince, sat there, had a cocktail myself. If the owners of those 2 businesses think that a casino is going to open up somewhere in Western Mass and the people are just going to beat down their doors, it's not going to happen. You as the owner, you as an industry, you as a CVB, you as a chamber have to be very aggressive about working on that partnership with whoever the eventual operator is. Creating, is the loyalty card from that casino going to be recognized and rewarded in every retail shop in your downtown? Are we going to have cross promotions on the web? Are we going to share databases? What are we going to do? Because left alone, and I go back to, and I think this was Mr. Brennan's, no, it was the other gentleman, forgive me for not, Mr. Simon. He talked about the clashes. He talked about the inherent conflict that you try not to make that emotional, but they exist. The casino is in a completely different business than we are most of the time, and we need to recognize that, embrace it, and understand it as an industry to be successful. I would urge, unlike what I've seen in some destinations, and I'll let the commission ask questions, do not use your revenue for general fund purposes. I understand that governments are running lean right now. We don't have as many cops, we don't have as many lawyers, we don't have as many whatever to provide service, but if you use your casino money to balance local municipal budgets, you will be making the greatest mistake that you could make, because that money eventually is going to decline, if not go away. I never thought I'd see the day that we have a bankruptcy in an Indiana casino, but we do. And had that city planned on using that money to balance the general fund, where would it be? We've always talked about having a well-communicated plan that outlives both casino management and administrations. The joke about, I got a 20-year plan with a 2-year mayor. Well, I also have a 20-year plan with a 4-year casino general manager. And I'm spoiled. I had the Horseshoe, the closest one to Chicago, highest grossing, best, most community impactive casino. The original general manager was there for 12 years. He knew everyone, knew how we got there, knew what we went through to pass the law, understood who the senator was, who the committee, knew it all. The new guy, he's one more step removed from that. He doesn't know who the players are, and guess what? He doesn't necessarily care. This has now become like a military post. One guy gets promoted, a new guy comes in, he's further removed from the deal. So if you don't have a very clearly articulated community plan that is indifferent to politics and tied to, and I think the CVB here has done an outstanding job, and Mary Kay and her board chairman, you guys, if we could have had part of this process, we would be well ahead. But tie it to the renewal, tie it to certain things so that they can't just change course when the general manager changes or when economic times change, that there is a greater plan in play for the community. Yeah, and I summed it up as saying some operators have forgotten how they got here. You guys right now are the bells of the ball. They love you. They want to take you on a date. They want to buy you dinner. They want to have fun and, hold your hand. I'm just liken this to dating. Guess what? 10 years from now, they're not going to know who you are, and they're really not going to care. Their business is there, they're established. And again, that's not meant to be negative. They're just, the longer it goes, the further removed they get from knowing what we went through to do this, or understanding, though, yeah, that deal was cut to put those two cops on the street as part of, they're just going to start picking apart a spreadsheet. And that's something I would ask you to keep an eye out for. Community partnership cannot exist without recognition of the dynamic tension of each partner and their role. Casinos want to bring people into their casino, keep them at the table or the slot machine. If they want something to eat, they want to compliment their buffet, they want them to come back, play some more. If they're really big players, they want to spend the night in their hotel to see if they can come back and play some more. Their business model is to keep them in the casino. That's their business. We shouldn't be surprised by this. We shouldn't, if any of us think that they're going to sit here and go, oh, gee, you know what can I do to get people into Peter's restaurants? That thought doesn't come to them. And part of the reason why that thought doesn't compare to them is because they're singularly focused on time on machine and table play. Those are technical terms that they will tell you they study, and the way that casinos can slice and dice information is Big Brother would be jealous. These guys can tell you stuff that are absolutely frightening. Part of the other attitude is that they're the heaviest regulated and most taxed industry that exists. About 46% of every dollar collected in an Indiana casino goes back to taxes. Whether it's property tax, payroll tax, wind tax, admission tax, income tax, you name it, but if your business was being taxed 46% on the dollar, you're going to be real careful about what else you're getting involved in that you don't have to do. So I think that it's incumbent on us to realize how much we ask of that business and how much taxes they pay at all levels of government. The magnitude of the player data is mind-boggling. They can tell you from the time I park my car at valet, and would you like to know this as a restaurateur? The time I park my car to the time I get in, when a first slot machine is pulled or the dice hit the table the first time, they can tell me what I drink, they can tell me how fast it took the waitress to get me my drink. And if I have a spouse in the house who's a slot player and I'm a tables player, I'm likely getting I'm getting two different promotional pieces sent directly to me because they know what I do. The computer tracking and information they have is staggering. So their ability to do mass customization to their markets and keep those players loyal is a very important part of what they do. Part of the things that I wanted to talk about a little bit with a couple of things that we talked earlier about was defining, if somebody defined terms, I think it was Mr. Brennan or Mr. Simon, but we talk about, and I hear about destination resorts. In my business, that has very specific meaning. A destination is something that is very purposely built to drive you to that destination. A resort, think about that, any resort we've gone to, if it's in Jamaica or Mexico or one of the great American old-fashioned resorts, you go there, you park the car, you stay. You have horseback riding and tennis and spas and great dinner and all those things. Those two words together, to me, send a very strong signal of we're putting these people here and they're going to be there. So maybe not a legislative intent, but the use of those two terms to the industry means something different than what I think you guys want to do with that, just as a side note. Can we theme the outlets? Massachusetts is where basketball got invented. I passed the beautiful museum on my way in. Can we talk to the operator and have part of I guarantee you they've got archives and things not on display that we can put through the new restaurant called Hoops that's going to be in the casino. And in that casino, we'll tell people about basketball and urge them to visit it. Can we do some cross-theming? The player cards, we talked about this already. Is your business community ready to open their doors and give them special discounts and offers? Are we linking with them on the web? Are we cross-promoting with them on the web? One of the things I urge you to consider is that a casino room is not a hotel room. And that was Atlantic City's biggest problem when I was there. One of the very, very early things that I got called to task on was I had this big, beautiful $500 million convention center. If you've been to Atlantic City, you know it's gorgeous, and it sat empty. And my board put their collective foot in my keister and said, we got to book more citywides. Okay. So I ran out and I started talking to my sales staff, why aren't we booking citywides? And come to find out, again, unlike the Massachusetts model, the New Jersey model has more authorities involved than you can shake a stick at. But each developer had to fashion an agreement with the Casino Redevelopment Authority. And the Casino Redevelopment Authority wasn't in tune with the needs of tourism. So the hotels that got built weren't hotel inventory for me. They are promotional items for the casino. I had a city of 14,000 hotel rooms that ran 94% of the time, and I couldn't book a citywide convention. Because why would Bally's give me 400 rooms, and Trump Taj Mahal give me 400 rooms, and everybody else give me 400 rooms, and maybe I didn't sell them all. Maybe we didn't get the convention. They need those rooms for their whale players that are coming in from New York and Philly and those places. They don't care about the convention center. So there was an inherent disconnection between the various facets of government and the various agencies that are trying to do or to try to get aligned within the same city. So when you're talking with your developers about, I want to build 400 rooms, your question needs to be to them, okay, is that 400 rooms for your casino marketing department? Yes, it is. Okay, in that case, our convention bureau is telling us that we need, or the convention center is telling us we need another 200 rooms to really kickstart the convention center and book more citywides. I want to talk to you about these other 200 rooms, and are you going to, or will you be willing to make them committable all the time so we can sell the city? Because a casino hotel room is not part of my inventory for what I sell when softball comes to town or when the air show comes to town or whatever else comes in. They're filled with players that are in the casinos playing. And again, that's the casino's job. We shouldn't be surprised by this. But if we want to meaningfully impact the inventory, then in our minds we have to differentiate committable rooms from those that they will not commit. We do a little thing in Northwest Indiana called Soup to Nuts, where we focus on all the things that are grown in our area, and we do a motor coach tour around there. If Massachusetts is anything like New Jersey, there's a lot of great produce, there's a lot of great things made here. What are we involving in the casino? Will the casino have the local cheeses, the milks, the produce, the things that are seasonal here to get people aware of what goes on in Massachusetts? Is there great, somebody told me there's Yankee candles around here somewhere. I don't know what you do with Yankee Candle, but I'm just thinking out loud, how do we bring that kind of activity into the casino in a partnership manner so that my experience may start in that island of the casino, and I may go there for 2 nights, never come into downtown Springfield. But at least when I leave, I've seen a message on the TV, there's a visitor's guide, there's something that says, hey, you know, the next time we go, we need to take an extra hour and stop by that Yankee Candle original store. We need to go downtown and hit this blues bar so that this is an entree into the community, because that's what we still struggle with, and I've had legalized gaming since 1995. Every day we talk about in my staff, how do we get more people from the boats into our communities? And that problem is never going to go away as long as we're here. I really want to keep this brief, or as brief as I can, because there's many more great speakers to come in, and I'll answer any questions the commission may have. In my conversations earlier, and for the next panel that comes up, I would be remiss if I did not tell you a little bit about employee retention and employee pilfering by casinos. It was so obvious to me that I was stunned when I didn't think of it. The #1 industry impacted by casinos. I was thinking about waiters, waitresses, cooks, chefs, you know, people there, and the concerns of the small businessman who says, these guys are going to come in, they're going to pay more money, and they're going to take my people. Yeah, they are. So start now. Give them some love, up their pay a little bit, sit down and calculate how much money you've got invested in every person in your restaurant, bar, tavern, hotel, front desk, and put a monetary value to that, and then realize 2 things are going to happen. If you lose that person, you lose all of the training, experience, expertise, everything that they've been giving your business walks out the door. Secondly, you're going to get an inferior person that you're going to have to train doubly as hard, that's going to put your customer at risk, who maybe doesn't understand your core values. You're going to get somebody who was unemployed or way underemployed, and now they're your front line. That's the person I see when I'm checking into the Marriott. So it's a double whammy for the greater business pool. But the one I completely missed, and I walked into a boardroom for a business economic development group meeting one day, and I got basically stoned by this industry. They were ready to string me up. The bankers. And it was so obvious, I don't know how I missed it. But bank tellers, people who handle cash, people who are in the money business are going to be a highly sought after commodity by casinos. And when I looked at them, like, I never even thought of that because I was focused on my industry and what goes on there. So yes, employers out in the market, you're going to have people come after your employees. So the good news is you've got time to really focus in, point out why it's good to stay at your business, give them a little love, do some things that will make them not want to leave you, because they will leave you. And when they do, all of their experience and all the money you've poured into them will walk out the door with them. Finally, I think my last couple of comments will be on the news on the way here. I was getting dressed, and GameSys and Facebook announced that they will be doing legalized bingo for money in the UK. So if you think gaming is stopping at how we know it today, think about a world where your Facebook account at some point in the future you can gamble on in this country. Gambling knows no boundary. It's like water. It will seep everywhere it can get. So what we're talking about today, in 10 years from now, we haven't even thought about how the gambling industry will evolve and even undercut its capital assets in ways that weren't thought of. And that takes me to mistakes in the law of unintended consequences. In Gary, I can tell you, my hometown, did we put 10,000, 12,000 people to work? Absolutely we did. Were most of them from Gary? Absolutely they were. And where do they live now? Not Gary. It was a leg up and a step out. They got out as fast as they could because Gary didn't plan. Because the mayor at the time had a horrible plan, or didn't have a plan, and so all of these people that had been through the worst times in the city and should be those beacons of change that are going to stay and make the city better, out to the suburbs they went. Because we didn't have plans in place for regentrification of neighborhoods. We didn't have plans in place to attract new business. We didn't have plans in place to redo the schools. We didn't do the things to follow up with what casinos were going to do for us. They took their paycheck and their family and they left. With that, I will answer any questions you have. Again, not because because I'm in the business. You have a great CVB. Mary Kay opened my eyes on some of the great work that she's been doing with the RFP, and you're very fortunate to have such capable leadership on the local level, and I'll answer any questions that the commission might have for me.
When were you in Atlantic City?
I'm sorry?
When were you in Atlantic City?
I was in Atlantic City in 2000 and 2001.
When the convention center was there already then?
Yes, I just got there. It was probably 2 years old.
Okay. Were you responsible for the Miss America at the Sheraton? Was that your?
Yeah, well, I was charged with a couple of things. One of them I got done, and I was very upset when I found out. I had a 17-year contract put in place with Miss America before I left. I had them there through 2016 or 2017, and they broke the contract and left. And you know, it's Atlantic City is its own set of, you know, and it's a great place. It's got tremendous opportunity, but you see Governor Christie doing the things he's doing in that state today because we were unable to get what we needed done in the early part of this decade when we were saying, hey guys, there's a problem here and competition's coming and we're really going to get kicked. And they're like, yeah. And so, you know, the action the governor's taking now with the casino district, with the extra cops, with trying to force that, you know, some new development, the Baltimore group that put that mall in front of the Sheraton, beautiful project, 10 years too late. And without rooms, which is still the #1 issue there, without committable rooms, the Atlantic City product is never going to be anything more than motor coach or leisure. There will be no viable convention aspect to it. In my opinion, from my experience now 10 years ago. I want to make sure I temper that because I don't want anybody saying I'm down on Atlantic City. I loved it. I'd go back in a heartbeat. But they've got to do some structural changes.
Thank you.
Are there other issues that would be interesting for us to hear your perspective on? You said if you could have had a chance to plan your expanded gaming business, your casino business, how you would have done it a lot differently. One was you would have clustered people differently, clustered the facilities differently. Are there other sort of quick insights that come to mind about how you would do it differently? Would have done it differently?
I want to be very careful here because I have two casinos that are on my board of directors, and one of them is bidding on one of the projects here, so I want to be very, very careful in how I answer it. Every choice of site has, and I cannot be as articulate as the last panel. I'm just the tourism guy. I'm the heads and beds and cheeks and seats guy. Every option you have has cost and benefit. I will tell you that you guys are going to do it better than we did in Indiana, so you will have a better opportunity for the hospitality industry to find linkages, and I can tell you immediately, regardless of where they're built, you will get more of these casino patrons, whether it's the Ameristar property or the MGM proposed property or whatever. I saw the yellow t-shirts or whatever it was. Your process drives a better outcome. To me, I tend to look at it, and my time in Atlantic City has jaded me. Put it where you want the people. I mean, it's as simple as that, because generally speaking, and if you are able to carve out 12% of the visitation and get them back into the industry somehow, and I'm carving out 2%, you've had a huge success. But that still leaves us 88% of the people that are driving to this island that we never see. So if you want pedestrian traffic, if the charges and the goals are to do X, Y, and Z, then do that. I mean, if we wanted to change downtown Gary, then why did we put the boat out in a former marina used by U.S. Steel? I mean, for us, the concept of these riverboat licenses having to float on Lake Michigan, and now we're getting ready to go through a bloodbath in the Indiana General Assembly about land-based gaming. Because Gary is sitting here saying, we never got the economic impact that we started out for, and I've got 4 other operators who are going to say, whoa, wait a minute. I have to be out on the lake. I'm not going to support your land-based initiative, so you can put it next to the interstate. So, again, these decisions that we're facing now are going to last with you for a long time. If you want it out there and you feel that it's going to, do what you need, and you're going to manage the money differently to do downtown regentrification and this and that and the other thing, great. If you want it somewhere where you want a chance at the people and lengthening their stay and doing some different things, then force them there. It's your call. They will come no matter where it's built. That's the one thing, don't let anybody tell you. Wherever you put that casino, people will come to it. And that is a decision that rests uniquely with the commission. And so I hope that answered your question, Mr. Chairman.
Are there communities jurisdictions where they've done a particularly good job of forcing the interrelationship, the strategic relationships, partnerships between the hospitality industry and the casinos?
I think, in my mind, the best one that I can think of in Indiana is French Lick. First of all, it's land-based because there's no water that runs through French Lick. French Lick, Indiana. There was an existing resort, beautiful old 1900-something hotel, and West Baden Springs, which used to be a huge attraction in the late 1800s. The Cook brothers, from the medical Cook brothers, got the license, poured in what people say is $500 million. I think it's close to $1.2 billion, and took these old hotels, put the casino there, and now businesses are springing up around it, but it put it right in the heart of French Lick, next to those 2 old properties. There's now 4 golf courses, there's riding stables, there's 10, and it's truly, in all senses of the word, a resort destination. It's
Why is that? How did that happen?
Because those 2 hotels were existing, because those 2 great old hotels were there, and the casino was a way to really make them happen. Now, they had a real problem with workforce development in French Lick. I mean, everything has a trade-off. You build it there. Orange County is a community of, 40,000 people. So now you're looking around for a workforce, but they're finally catching up. So every decision you make, you have to weigh workforce availability, economic needs, impact, and all those things. But, to me, if your priority is the revitalization of a certain city, then be bold and revitalize that city. Come up with programs that keep the paychecks there. Do the Atlantic City model. One thing they did great, and I'm going to really try to go because we've went real long here, the 3% model they offered for people that are on the government payroll. When I was there, mortgages were 7%. If you were the congressman or the dog catcher, it didn't matter. You bought a house in Atlantic City, you got a 3% mortgage. You had to be there for 10 years, you had to do a few other things, but guess what? The whole Chelsea Heights neighborhood, where your generation might have grown up, cops and firemen and EMTs are coming back and they're buying their parents' house, they're buying their grandparents' house, so those paychecks came back into the city. That's one thing Atlantic City did well. They managed to capture and use that money to leverage other money to keep people in the city. And with that, I'll be happy to talk afterwards. I feel like I've cut into my other peers' time up here.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Spiro, and you're right when you said that this region has an authentic and uniquely Massachusetts-bred tourism product. Somehow, a guy from Austria runs two of those businesses, but Peter, if you could share your perspective.
Thank you.
I think that's Betsy's way to say this is a guy coming with a little bit of an accent. I'm very grateful to all of you and everybody else here today to allow us, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Greater Springfield Convention and Visitors Bureau, to tell you a little bit about our thoughts. We have members in 4 counties in Western Mass, so we look ourselves as a regional organization. We're really proud of this area, and I'm an import to this area, and I gotta tell you, if you haven't spent time in this area, it's an amazing area. We're really lucky. We got, like you mentioned earlier, we got Yankee Candle on one end, and we use that as a big attraction. It's probably the largest tourist attraction, or one of the largest in Massachusetts. We got Six Flags right on the other end. We got things like the Springfield Museums, Basketball Hall of Fame, and then we take everything else together. And what we do at the Bureau is we work very hard today to take those visitors we have and find ways to convince them to stay longer. If it's the whole day, hopefully it's more than a day and it's multiple days. Our position on gaming started really early in the process. We were probably one of the very first organizations in Western Mass that had an entire board vote on where do we stand on casinos, what do we want to do with this? And we voted in favor of casinos. And it was quite a controversial vote, and I need you to hear that because I think we put a lot of thought into it. Are you going to be afraid of casinos? Of course you are. It's something that when you're a small business owner, you look at and say, how do I deal with this labor issue? Or how do I deal with some of my dollars that are being spent in my restaurant going to the casino? But we took the approach that we wanted to look at the big picture. And my key things and my key parts of the presentation is to tell you about this the big picture that we're taking on as the Greater Springfield Convention and Visitors Bureau with the casinos. We're really looking for regional partnership with these casinos. Spiros, you couldn't have said it better. And I wish we would have talked to you earlier because maybe we would have incorporated some of your thoughts into this. But we really asking you, the commission, and specifically the developer, to find a way to break the model and turn this into a regional partnership, and truly a partnership. There's not two sides to this thing, but turn it into a regional partnership so we can grow together. The casino can attract its visitors, and the region can attract its visitors, and we can keep people for a couple extra days or longer stay. We heard what you were saying, Spiros, and we've been on the same track. We want something concrete. We don't want a wishy-washy proposal. We do not want something that is not going to survive 15 or 20 years from now. We want to get to a point with a developer, whoever that developer is, and have an agreement that lasts a long time. This partnership, this marketing-focused partnership needs to last a long time. So we're seeking a memorandum of understanding with these developers. What we have done to create this memorandum, and the commission has this packet from us, you have a copy of our RFP. And we put a lot of thought into this RFP. There's a lot of points that are important to us as the Convention and Visitors Bureau that represents this region. And we want a developer to give us a proposal that if it's a favorable proposal, that we use that proposal and engage in a memorandum of understanding. Some of the key things that we're asking is the cross-promotion with attractions and restaurants. We understand they want to keep people in the building. We want to see what can we do for the surrounding communities. We have an amazing community up in Northampton, Mass, which has incredible shopping and restaurants. How do they get a benefit of this? And some sort of cross-promotion is kind of the best way to deal with this. We want to understand how they're going to move people in the valley. move them around. If the casino is outside of Springfield, how do you bring them to Springfield? And if the casino's in Springfield, how do you bring them to Northampton, or how do you bring them to Palmer? How do you move some of the guests around so everybody benefits? We want the casino developer to commit to marketing. We feel that we can rise all tides, that we can fill our convention space. We have some incredible meeting space here in this area with a beautiful Mass Mutual Center, but there's other facilities. Let's fill them up. Let's make it more successful. So how do we do this, and how do we grow that? One other point that was very important to us, and there's a lot of points, but is also how is this casino developer going to interact with local businesses? Who are they buying from? Who are they integrating themselves with? Are they outsourcing out of the area, or are they actually using local businesses? So we're very interested in this RFP. It's a completed RFP. We have already presented that RFP to 2 developers that are interested, and hopefully the rest of them will take it on. And our goal is to engage in a memorandum of understanding with each one of them. Our key ask of you, and it's a really important ask, is my hope, and it's the Bureau's hope, that you integrate this process that we're doing in how you look at an application. It would be really helpful to our process, and I think it's the right thing for tourism, specifically following your comments. I know I was a lot shorter than you, but that's my message. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Well, first, you asked a lot of questions, and we're looking for answers to those. You said, how do we do this? How do we do that? How do we get them to go to Northampton? Anything that your organizations can do to adopt, there are answers to these questions. These things have been done, not maybe as well as they could be done, but the Spiroses of the world are beginning to understand in an operating mode how you can create these cross-marketing deals and so forth. So as much as this industry can tell us the kinds of best practices that we might incorporate into our RFP, we'll certainly want to take a look at your RFP, and we would be predisposed to taking these kinds of constructive ideas and incorporating them into our RFA process. But as much as your industry can give us the tools, give us the strategies that you want us to put into the spec and to put points for, in credit against these proposals, that's really helpful.
Mr. Chair, that's the intent of the RFP, and I think I want to explain myself a little bit. When you go point by point on the RFP, when I say, what are you going to do about this or that, what we mean is the casino developer. So we want the casino developer to specifically tell us, what are you doing with transportation? How are you, the developer, planning on moving people around the area so other restaurants, other attractions can benefit? Or specifically, what are you proposing for a relationship with the GSCVB? What are examples of that? So when you read the RFP, you'll see how we approach that. Our internal process is a grading process of the replies to these points in the RFP. And if we feel that we have a positive proposal, we hope to engage in this memorandum of understanding with the developer.
Right, I get that. And there's kind of 2 different ways to approach this. One is to say to the developer, you're smart, you're in the business, you tell us how you're going to go about doing this. But another way is to be prescriptive, and for us to know, and either way, we're going to want to know. We want to know ourselves what the best practices are. We want to be smarter than anybody in assessing how well this is being done. So both, obviously, getting them to be creative and come up with ideas is terrific, but also we would like to be as informed as we can possibly be about what best practices already are.
Understood.
Anybody else?
I just want to pick up a little bit on both of you, Spears and Peter, relative to a point that you make on the data, on how casinos have a lot of data available. Can you hear me, or you can hear me? How casinos have a lot of data available that may be beneficial to the likes of the Visitors Bureau, So could you expand a little bit on that thought and how, whether that has been useful in your case?
For those of you who might have had difficulty hearing the commissioner, he asked about the volume of data that casino operators have and what the likelihood, if I understood your question, Commissioner, properly, what the likelihood of them sharing that with us as an industry would be. I would not want to speak for any casino operator who might have people in the room here today. That would be something I would ask your applicants directly. My experience is we're not going to see it. That's highly proprietary. It is something that they, it's years of their proprietary information and knowledge and data that drives, it's at such the core of their marketing that I would be surprised if we were even allowed to see the room where the machine lives that collects the information. It's very, very secret. I think, though, my experience with some of our operators have been in broader context when asked a broader question like, where are you seeing X, percentage of people, or can you talk in broader demographics? We've always had very productive conversations, but I can almost, again, I'm not speaking for any of them. My experience tells me it will be a very cold day before we would ever see that information in a very meaningful, detailed manner, and as it should be. I'm not suggesting we need to see that, but it's their work, it's their proprietary work product, and I doubt that anyone would give it up.
I'm not so sure, Mr. Zuniga, I'm qualified to answer that, but I'm taking your question in a direction of, I think what we're looking for, I know what we're looking for, is to break the mold a little bit that the consumer needs to stay in a casino. We want a little bit outside of that. So give us that exposure, so hopefully we get you to visit Basketball Hall of Fame. Give us the kind of exposure that they go to Yankee Candle. And perhaps the data can help understand how they're doing that. And that's probably my quick gut answer to what you're saying.
Just to follow up on that question, Spiros, you pointed to French Lick as a place where they've done a particularly good job of getting people integrated into the community and other kinds of things. How do we get a handle on other places in other states where they've done it well, so that we all could perhaps spend some time looking at the models that they used and the criteria they used and the kinds of incentives they used in order to achieve the result that you described? Other places throughout the country, is there a national organization? Is there some place we all could go to find those paradigms?
First of all, let me clarify success in the context I was talking about French Lick, about who did it well and other businesses got involved. Right. When you take a look at strictly handle, when you take a look at gross revenue, the leader in our state is Horseshoe, 2 miles from Chicago, no questions asked. They do, so I want to be very careful about what we're defining as.
My definition of success is this integration of the casino as not only a successful business entity on its own, but as a gateway to other things in the region. Hospitality.
Commissioner, I've never been asked that question before, so pardon me for stuttering and stammering a little bit. I think that every casino jurisdiction has done some things well, and they've done some things not so well.
Right.
So in my mind, in trying to answer you openly and honestly, I think that we can look at, you can take a look at Atlantic City and see what it's doing well today and the changes they're making and addressing the problems. I think perhaps your question is best answered by asking jurisdictions what problems are they correcting today from the decisions they made 20 years ago versus perhaps a best case study, because gaming in any community is reactive to the legislature, the local mayor. I mean, there's just so many variables. So to me, I would suggest perhaps this commission frame it as, dear Lake County, Indiana, what would you have done differently that would allow better integration with your existing hospitality industry? Dear Atlantic City, dear Tunica, dear Mississippi Gulf Coast, and find out what policies they're having to pursue now to correct unforeseen circumstances that cropped up because, this was 1993 for us in Indiana. We just didn't know We were more interested in getting a leg up and getting boats operated than we were anything else, and we did that. So therefore, by all arguments, we were successful, but we still end up 20 years later with some things that we would have liked to have done differently. I hope that answers your question in some form or fashion.
I have a quick question for something you said, Spiros, about time in Atlantic City, trying to get hotel space for conventions. And now I turn to Peter because there's been some growth in some small hotels going up, across Western Mass, mostly to feed a visitor industry. Would you say, based on the experience Spiros saw in Atlantic City, would the hospitality industry in Western Mass feel threatened by a hotel attached to a resort? Or do you have somewhat a level of comfort now to know that maybe that hotel is going to be maximized by the people going to the gaming facility as opposed to maybe poaching some of your business? I mean, you have a property that has some hotel rooms attached to it.
I still overwhelmingly believe that we need to rise all tides, and I think what will happen outside of the casino area, if it's well promoted in the market, I think all of us will do a little bit better. At least that's my approach to this. I think specifically to your question, and it's something that Spiro said that I think really rang in my head that I think is extremely valid. If there's a hotel attached to a casino, that hotel is probably designed to specifically serve that casino. And I think if you have convention space and things like that, I think the point that you raised to actually make that hotel larger is an extremely valid point that I don't think I understood well until earlier today when I had a similar conversation with him. Not exactly the answer to your question, but I think you need to design the hotel to handle the casino and hopefully some other business that will happen in the immediate area. And then for properties like ours that is going to be somewhat removed, because I don't believe for the rest of the commission, my properties, for example, are not close to a casino because it's a community that doesn't want a casino. We still feel that there's market that will grow. I mean, that's why I believe in this. I think if we can get a casino developer to make some sort of arrangement where we promote the market, I think all of us will gain something out of this.
And to that end, and I want to be putting my, reflecting the industry that I serve too, the casinos are going to look at you and say, okay, I hear you want me to build more rooms beyond what I need for casino marketing. Show me your lost business book. What haven't you booked in Springfield because you haven't had these 200 rooms? Where's the lost business? Where's the new markets? How am I going to get a bite at those people? I mean, maybe they're staying in my hotel, but are you going to do VIP welcome nights in my casino on a Tuesday night so I can help pay for these rooms that I built for you? There's going to be a series of very legitimate questions that will be coming out of the casino industry saying, okay, I get it. This market needs some more rooms to serve the convention center, but where's the convention center marketing plan? What markets are we going to be in? Show me the sales force. Show me the lost business. I mean, all of those things are going to be incumbent on the CVB and the convention center to bring in and say, this is why we're making that ask. I mean, so I don't want my comments to be taken one way. I think any casino operator will tell you, sure, can I get more people Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, midweek? Will that help my business? Sure it will. But there's also a price point at which building 200 extra rooms doesn't pencil out unless there's something very active in a marketing plan that they get.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Between the regional tourism councils and the state agency, the Mass Office of Travel and Tourism, taxpayers in Massachusetts will invest $18 million in tourism marketing this year. So it's critically important that the lead marketing plan for the state's tourism efforts be data-driven, highly effective, and measurable. In Massachusetts, we have a highly competitive process for selecting an ad agency. We have Connolly Partners from Boston, represented here by Scott Madden.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I think there's been a lot of good suggestions directionally about ways that we could maximize the impact of a casino resort in this area for the tourism, economic tourism impact outside the walls, if you will, of a resort. I'll come at it from a different perspective and give you at least my understanding as a marketer what a casino would do historically from a marketing perspective. They would come in and they would want to quickly establish awareness by blitzing media markets in their respective trade areas. So those drive markets like New York, Hartford, Boston, and they would be spending probably the heaviest amounts of media dollars in the first 2 years of their presence with the idea of trying to ramp up awareness of their resort and trying to impact immediate traffic impact to come to their casino. And I think that presents an opportunity for the broader region, possibly through Peter's memorandum of understanding, to quantify ways that this casino would partner specifically with the region so that the region as a whole benefits beyond just the casino itself. And so if you're looking for specific examples, I would think from just a marketer's perspective, one of the things that I think you could talk to casinos about, again, within a understanding of partnership, would be to have or require a casino to promote within its heavy spend marketing dollars the area at large. So highlighting the hoop hall, highlighting other aspects in and around the perimeter of not just Springfield, but the Berkshires and broader Pioneer Valley. And by showing those broader areas of things you can do outside the walls of the casino, you're helping build the brand and the awareness of this region in these markets where you otherwise couldn't financially afford to do it. On the flip side, it behooves a casino to do that, because any casino that comes into this area is going to compete with Mohegan Sun, they're going to compete with Foxwoods, and they're a casino. They all have gaming tables. They all offer the same base services, and so they need to create other distinctions, competitive advantage as to why consumers should come to this area versus a Foxwood, versus a Mohegan Sun. And one of those obvious assets that they can leverage is the broader experience that this region provides any would-be casino prospective traveler. So I think that's one place where you could require, or in a spirit of partnership, strongly encourage a casino partner to represent a broader visual representation of the region as a core component to their marketing strategy. I think I would expect casinos to be receptive to that idea, because if I were them, I would be thinking that this is a competitive asset that I can leverage against those other two casinos I mentioned in Connecticut. I think there's just more to do here. Because of where these casinos potentially are going to be located, they're less isolated, and there's an opportunity for people to conveniently leave the walls of that casino resort to do other things here. So I think that's an advantage. I think the idea of cross-promoting, as Spiro said earlier, they are wildly sophisticated on their one-to-one marketing. Once someone walks in that door, they've captured that name, they know all of the behavior, and they will put them into buckets of value: a high spender, a high active gamer, a high active entertainment person, and they're going to have a lot of direct e-communications with that person after they leave that first visit to their casino. And that's another easy, obvious place for you to quantify in that memorandum of understanding that they'll be pushing emails, if not monthly, more frequently to those folks to get them to come back. And if they can include representation of the broader region in those marketing messages to those audiences, you would collectively benefit from that additional exposure. And I think whether you benefit from the specific trip that person comes back to the resort, or you just benefit from the added awareness that this area receives from television advertising, radio communication, direct marketing, be it email or digital or snail mail, you benefit because you're raising awareness. And although they might not visit the hoop hall, for example, on their next casino visit, the western part of Massachusetts, the Springfield area, becomes more top of mind for them the next time they're planning their spring vacation or their summer vacation. And I think you can benefit from those types of requirements of partnership with the would-be casino. So from thinking of it from their perspective, the broader area around the outside perimeter of the casino walls is a competitive asset for the casino coming into this area, comparatively to Foxwoods, comparatively to Mohegan Sun. And I think you have to require some quantifying of what that partnership needs to entail versus talking in generalities about it, but I think it would make sense for them as much as it would greatly benefit the region. So with that, I will open it up to any questions that you might have specifically for me.
Just,
Thank you.
Just a quick question. How do you see gaming necessarily folding into the state's overall marketing, not only domestically but internationally?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I didn't get into that just because I was being sensitive to time. But quickly, from a macro statewide perspective, I think casinos add a very real and tangible asset for us from a broader state marketing standpoint. Certainly against our Northeast competitive states that don't have gaming within their respective states, we already have a really rich collection of assets that are unique to Massachusetts against most of our competitors that we certainly leverage on a very regular basis. But I do think that the inclusion of casinos would only strengthen that, and we would need to think certainly tactically about where and what channels of communication we would leverage the casinos. We have a very rich database within a consumer database within Mott's servers, and so we have the opportunity, much like the casinos themselves, to try to get a better handle on the behaviors of those folks as it relates to interest in gaming. And from that standpoint, we can serve messages directly to them on a regular basis in a very measurable and efficient way. But I think even when you think from a broader brand perspective, I think we would have an opportunity to leverage the casinos collectively in the state as just another strength to differentiate ourselves, especially from our northern New England competitors that don't have that. But it will absolutely be an asset, and I think we would find the right places to leverage it.
Thank you very much. It was great.
Thank you.